Today, I'm visiting the talented Laszlo. He was born in Budapest, Hungary in 1937.
Hi,
Hello.
Laszlo. How are you?
How are you? It's
How
so
are
nice
you?
to see you again.
Me too. I brought you a little something.
Oh,
I
you
baked
shouldn't have,
this.
but thank you.
I baked this for you. It's a lekker. Do you know what a
Wow.
lekker is?
No, but I will find out soon.
Okay.
Wow, Oh, I know some of these people.
Some of them, do you take them yourself?
This is my wife, and I took it myself, yes.
Wow. Well, you're talented.
I'm a professional photographer.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I am. You didn't know that?
I did. I did.
In his own way, he too has contributed to the memory of the Holocaust.
They are not beauty portraits. I wanted people to look into their faces and imagine the memories that these people have behind them. Oh, this is a sad story. This lady, my wife went to her funeral this morning.
Is this why also you're testifying? Because unfortunately...
Yes, this is a big part of it also, because there are fewer and fewer of us every day. And that's me. And as you can see, I did not spare myself either.
Laszlo has a twin brother.
So that's you
That's
right
me.
here.
That's me. And that's my twin brother, Rudy.
Unlike most twins, they remained together the entire time of the war.
I was very little at the time, but I recall my mother sitting in our living room and sewing yellow stars on our clothes, because the law in Hungary at that time was that all Jews, regardless of age, have to wear a yellow star on their clothes. So when we went out on the street, everybody could clearly see that there goes a filthy, lousy Jew, because that is the way that people thought about us. And after our playmates came to us one by one and told us that they cannot play with us anymore because the parents forbid them to play with Jews. I remember being out there one day with my brother wearing our yellow stars, and a man looked through the gate and saw us playing there and started screaming at us, "Lousy Jews, wait until I get my hands on you," and he started rushing us. And both my brother and I, we ran screaming back to our apartment, and there was nothing our parents could do about it. And that, I believe, is when the fear started. That was, I think, the first time that I realized as a kid that there are people out there that wanted to hurt me. And that fear has not left me for many, many years.
In 1944, Laszlo and his family are relocated into a designated Jewish house in terrible living conditions.
We were terrified because we looked out the window and we saw that the day the Jews could go out, what they did to them.
What did they do to
That
them?
young Nazis just surrounded this old man, and they started pushing this man between them from side to side and hitting him, kicking him, spitting on him. He had, I don't know whether it was an onion or a potato, I don't know. And the old man dropped it, and this onion or potato rolled out, and one of the Nazi thugs just slammed his boots down on it and smashed it. And the man was crying. And they couldn't explain to us. We asked our parents, what did this man do? Why did they do this to him? There was no explanation. They could not. The explanation was you're not allowed to go to the window anymore and look out. That was the explanation. Once the deportations started, and this was pretty late in the Holocaust, and by that time, I am sure that my parents were aware of what's going on in the camps,
In the concentration
in the
camp.
concentration camps. And I strongly believe that they knew about Dr. Mengele. He loved twins. For Mengele, it was a very good control mechanism to see if he does something to one twin, what happens to the other. Or if he does something to both of them, which one heal better or faster, or crazy experiments. It was the medical experience
On twins.
on twins. And my parents were very much afraid that if we get deported, that would happen to us.
Desperate to keep their twins safe, Laszlo's parents made the difficult decision to send them into hiding after changing their names. This plan leads the twins to the small shop of a lady who is a member of the Nazi Party.
My name was not always Sally. When I was born, my name was Schwartz. So as little kids, we were warned never, ever to tell anybody our real name. And this girl that worked for her she figured out that something is not quite kosher here. Mm-hmm. And she kept asking us, little kids, for our real name. And we would not tell her. Except one day, she came to me with a piece of candy. And she offered this candy to me if I tell her my real name. And I wanted that candy. I wanted it real bad. And I did tell her. And my aunt overheard this from behind the counter. And she ran out like a mad woman and threw the girl out of there. Immediately fired her. And within 5 minutes, we were on our way back to our parents and to the designated Jewish house and perhaps to wait for the deportation. Only because had they found out that she's hiding 2 Jewish kids, they would have killed her on the spot.
Laszlo's father managed to obtain a certificate of protection by Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat who saves thousands of Hungarian Jews at the risk of his own life. Meanwhile, thousands of Jews, including children, are still being murdered around the corner.
And the Nazis, the Germans, kind of ran away. But the killing of the Jews in Budapest did not stop. It was now taken over by the Hungarian Nazi Party, the Arrow Cross. They took the Jews down, they lined them up on the banks of the river, and they shot them.
How many of them?
Hundreds. Every day they were marching them down to the river. We could not see it, but I could clearly hear it.
What did you hear?
I heard the screams and the cries of these people as they realized what was about to happen. Fire in Hungarian. And we heard the machine gun fire. And we knew that all these people were dead.
Because of the silence
Because
after.
of the silence afterward. And we also knew that sooner or later it will be our turn. And then one day they did come. And they came into our building and they told us that tomorrow morning we all have to be lined up in front of the building. Anybody who stays behind will be shot on the spot. And that was the worst night I can remember in my life. The women were all crying, hugging their children. The men were huddled together praying, and we hoped that morning would never come. Very early that morning, we heard rifle butts banging on the front door. And the door had to be opened up, and there stood 2 Soviet soldiers. Soviet soldiers looking for Germans. The Soviet army took the street that we lived on that night.
That night,
That night. If they'd been one day late,
you wouldn't be here.
I would not be here today.
So what do you feel as a kid when you go out for the first time?
Fresh air. I'm outside. And I can look around. And, well, what you see wasn't pretty. But still, you were outside.
Despite the horror, although 2/3 of the Hungarian Jews had been decimated, the family stayed in Budapest. In 1956, during the chaos of the Hungarian Revolution, Laszlo and his brother escaped and made their way to America.
Bremenhaven, Germany, which is a seaport. And at that port, there was this American old World War II troop ship. And they jammed up a couple of hundred Hungarian refugees who were going to America, and they put us on this ship. And this was the first time we saw the ocean.
I mean, everybody talks about, you know, when you enter the harbor in New York. Do you recall how you
yes.
felt?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They told everybody that we're going through the harbor and there is the Statue of Liberty. And we were all up on deck. And it was an incredible... I still get choked up. To see this statue and knowing, wow, I'm in America. It was a dream that was not possible ever. You couldn't even think about it in your wildest dreams, that one day I will be in America. And here we were.
He finally reunites with his parents 5 years later, after the Hungarians agree to let them flee the country under one condition. They had to give up their retirement allowances.
What was the hardest thing for you to bear during the war?
Wow. Fear, pure fear for years. It's not easy to get rid of.
Are you still having nightmares?
No more. No, I don't have nightmares anymore. You know, since I started talking and sharing my experiences.
When did you first tell your story?
I didn't tell my story to anybody until about 4 years ago.
That recently?
My wife heard the story the first time when I told the kids on the March of the Living.
You had never spoken to your
Never.
wife, never spoken
Never.
to your kids?
Afterwards, she came to me and she said, "What kind of a man are you? That you have this story and you never said a word about it to me. I'm your wife."
Never told your kids?
Never. Never. I had no reason to. I did not want to remember. I did not want to recall. It was something that happened to me in the past and it should remain there.
What is your goal when you teach these kids about the Holocaust?
My goal is that they know the dangers of what can happen if they are not careful. They have to get involved. They cannot be bystanders. And I try to tell them that my voice is fading and pretty soon it will be silenced for good. And it is now their turn to speak out and to tell the world and to tell everybody that this is possible, it can happen again, be careful.
It wasn't too hard for you today to talk about the past?
No. By now,
You've gotten used to it?
I've gotten used to it. I've done it enough. And I'm just glad that people want to know.
So until you have a voice, you're going to keep telling your story?
Yes. And thank you for all your help
Thank you.
in doing that.
Thank you for having me.
It's anytime, you know that. And
Thank you. Well, don't say that because I'm going to keep you, like, I'm going to hear it and then I might call you more.
please
and
do.
ask you more
please,
times.
please do. Feel free to call me anytime
Thank
you
you.
need to.
Thank you so much, Laszlo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much. I
Thank
will.
you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.